Hello, I'm Davina, and hello to all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and evolving souls. Today, I want to talk about hopelessness and helplessness. I've talked about hopelessness before. I have a couple of other videos. It's obviously something that is one of the major feelings that we have when you're in an abusive situation and you're trapped in that and you can't escape and there's no way out. um, and for a child, they can't do anything to change that situation. Narcissists don't change, and there can be a tremendous amount of hopelessness that comes up. And the worst part of the hopelessness is that it feels true. It can feel so true. And it can feel so confusing because the flashback feels like it's about your current life. And I'm still not totally convinced that my life has hope, um, but I know that, like what I've been experiencing recently, I've just been in a tremendous amount of hopelessness. And yeah, it's a feeling that is it's a very heavy feeling. It can feel like you're really exhausted. And that can also be confusing because like, am I actually this tired? Or, is this a flashback? That always messes me up. And I sometimes just, again, just believing that I'm actually this tired. But it's actually the feeling of real, like deep despair that just absolutely weighs you down. I can even feel it like I can feel it in my eyes, like my eyes feel tired, like I just feel just an incredible tiredness. And yeah, and the helplessness that goes along with that is that, we didn't as children feel that we could do something to change that situation, to get out of that situation, to better that situation. And what I was kind of reflecting on is that, throughout my whole life, really, is I had a false hope. Like, especially in my childhood, I held on to a false hope. And that false hope was tied into denial. And that denial was that my parents were fine and that I was the defective one, the bad one, the shameful one. And that gave me hope. Feeling that I was the problem gave me hope because I could change things that I was doing to try and win their love, their approval, their attention. And so it was, that false hope that kept me going through my childhood. And all of that around that was that denial. The whole thing was like, my family's fine, my parents are great, and I'm bad, right? And it's also tied in, obviously, with the self-blame. So there's a lot of tie-ins here with the hopelessness, helplessness, there's shame, there's self-blame, and they're all like in this, like, and fear, of course, the terror that goes along with it. They're all in this sort of tangly, um, it's really tangly, and it's just like pulling apart like a ball, a messed up ball of yarn that you're just, it's, it can be just feel so messy, and it can feel so awful, and so um I can literally feel like your life is hopeless, rather than these are feelings from my childhood that I'm now re-experiencing. So it's when you're in it, of course, it has to feel true. If it didn't feel true, we wouldn't be able to feel the feelings, right? So the triggers have to be um strong enough, or like bring up enough of that hopelessness that you believe that um that your life is actually hopeless, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to feel that hopelessness, if that makes sense. And it's the same for all triggers and flashbacks. It needs to feel true, because if the terror didn't actually feel true, then we wouldn't be re-experiencing it. So it's kind of like, this feels true, but really not true. Like it's real feeling, but it's not true because it's true of what happened to me in the past. Um, so that's another kind of key point, is just to remember that it is a flashback. And, talk to somebody when you're um like, I'm always in a flashback, and sometimes it's hard to really acknowledge that. Like I'm sometimes like I'm in a flashback, I'm not fully acknowledging that it's a flashback, and it's so confusing. Um so like to make that distinction, and sitting in hopelessness is so, so very, very difficult. It takes a great deal of bravery to sit in hopelessness because it feels so true. And we don't want to go there. And often our inner child, if it gets really, really heavy, our inner child is in a place where, like, I want to die, or I feel like I want to die. And that can be a terrifying place to go, because I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, my subconscious little child is going to, like, what is she going to do? What is she going to sabotage? Um, it can be very terrifying to go there. But when we understand that it's really a feeling and it wants attention, it wants to be validated, it wants to be heard. And if you let that feeling express itself, like as if you are speaking your inner child's feelings. That's kind of the verbal ventilation, when you're speaking as if, almost as if you are that child back then, even though you're speaking like it's happening right now. And yeah, so and the helplessness can go along with it. Like we learn that there's nothing we can do, and that's the learned helplessness, that we learn no matter what I do, I can't change the situation. And so we often also get really stuck in some situation in our life where, again, we're experiencing like, there's nothing I can do, even though there might be something. We might feel stuck for a while, but there's generally something we can do to make that situation better. And maybe we just haven't found it yet. And we haven't found it yet because we need to experience the hopelessness of our childhood. And it is a really, like, when I just try to like really imagine me as a child, it's like, imagine that I always use this metaphor, but like imagine like you were held captive by two really crazy people, and you couldn't escape. Um, the hopelessness and terror that you would experience on a daily basis would be like just humongous, right? Um, So, like, kind of imagine your inner child and what she was really going through on a day-to-day basis, knowing that, like, her parents weren't changing, she wasn't allowed boundaries, she couldn't express herself, she was shut down, she was oppressed, and all you could do was fawn. That's all you could do to get through a day. And so, yeah, and then, after like feeling some of the hope, like some of the hopelessness I was going through this morning, the hopelessness came up, the shame came up, and then the rage and the anger just started to like flow from that. Because the reason we feel hopeless is because our parents made us feel that way. Like, of course you feel hopeless. Your parents are narcissistic. They have no sensitivity. They don't have any empathy. They're not capable of being gentle and patient and attuned to a child. They have no ability to even really connect. So of course you felt hopeless, and really validating that, and then getting angry at your parents, like, F you and go F yourself. And, I was just yelling, and yeah, it's just like, then the anger just flows, because you realize, yeah, again, the self-blame starts to, reduce as you feel the hopelessness. Again, they're all sort of intertwined and tied together. This is such a muddly mess to get through. It really is. It is so, so painful. I don't even know how I am doing this day to day. I'm on my holidays, and all I'm doing half my day is just working through flashbacks and crying and grieving. And it's like not easy. It's not even the right word. Like It's so incredibly hard. It is so incredibly painful. Um, and the other thing I guess I kind of wanted to say about this is like what I realized too is that I'm really flipping back and forth constantly from this hypoarousal, the hopelessness, depression, and shame, to the hyperarousal, the more like the real more sharp terror. I think the hypoarousal is like a dull terror, if that makes sense. And the hyperarousal is like more like a sharp um, kind of terror, and the shame is still there. And often the anger is there. So I'm just like flopping back and forth from I feel like I'm gonna die to I feel like I want to die, and just flip flopping back and forth. There's no middle. There's no ever a middle window of tolerance. It's just back and forth dysregulation. And it's important to understand this. I think if this is what you're going through, but um, I think for most of us, this is probably the case. And another thing I just kind of did this morning was like, I feel like I want to die, but I don't want to die. Somehow that um, just made it easier to really feel like, and I got up and I sat on my bed and I'm like, I feel like I want to die. And I just cried that out like it's an emotion. I feel like I want to die. These are Donna's words from, 50 years ago. Um, and she didn't want to die, obviously, because I'm still here. Um, that just brings, yeah, she didn't want to die, she wanted to live. And just don't give up on yourself, just really they're really flashbacks, they're really um emotions that are in your body just wanting to be released. And it's so um excruciating and feels impossible sometimes, but yeah, keep choosing life just a little bit at a time. And the other thing I thought I did today that was to get out of the helplessness, as it sounds funny, but I cut my hair. It's a small thing, but it's like I changed something. So when you're in that like hypoarousal, like hopelessness, depressed, I can't even feel like I can't hardly move, like you get really immobilized. Just try to do one simple thing. Um, even if it's just like change and go to sit in a different chair, or like, yeah, like just something that you could change, like, or maybe like email a friend, or like just make the smallest change that you can, rearrange your furniture or something. I don't know. But for me, cutting hair is just kind of like it gives me a sense of empowerment that I can do this for myself. And I don't know. It's often it's just an intuitive journey, and I'm sure you know that already. So I think I've rambled enough. I don't know if this helps anyone, but I just wanted to let you know that um, I'm with you, and I'm always wishing you so many blessings on your journey of healing and awakening. And please just keep going, just keep getting up. And I am Davina at Bones Blooming.